Hey everyone, welcome to the Sage Stitch. My name is Sage and today we're going to be making Ribbert the Frog. Ribbert is super beginner friendly and easy, plus he's super cute. In total, he usually takes me around 15 to 20 minutes to crochet, so it's super fast and great for market preps. If you'd like the written pattern for Ribbert, you can find it on my Pinterest at the Sage Stitch. But anyways, let's get into the materials to make Ribbert the Frog. To make Ribbert, you're going to need any size yarn. I use Sweet Snuggles Lights by Loop and Thread in the color Baby Green, which is a size 6 yarn that you can buy at Michael's if you want to buy the same one. They usually come pre-balled, but I use my yarn winder to wind this one back up because I find when you use it, the yarn like tangles slowly, so it's just nice to have a nice ball of yarn, which it's also a center pull, so it's nice for working fast at the projects. And then you're also going to need some fiber fill stuffing. It doesn't really matter what stuffing. You could like go buy a pillow at Walmart and cut it open if you really wanted to, but I bought this one at Michael's. It's the polyfill stuffing, but I'm probably only going to use like this much. Like I'm not going to use a lot because the more you stuff it, the harder it is, and it's not. You like your plushies nice and squishy, you know? And then you're also going to have 10mm safety eyes. I bought these ones off of Amazon, but I can put the link in the description if you want to buy the same ones. They were, I think, $10 because they were on sale. But the smaller the eyes in the frog, the cuter it looks, and the bigger, the like more alienish it looks. So whatever size yarn you're using, you can pick your eyes, but I'm going to use these 10mm ones. And you're also going to need a pair of scissors to cut the yarn. I just have these little baby scissors that I found, and they work really good for yarn. And then you're also going to need a crochet hook that matches your yarn. So I'm using a size 6 hook or a J, but I'm using the size 6 just because I like size 6 for size 6 yarn. My tip for beginners is whenever you're picking your yarn to crochet with, I like matching it to the size of yarn I already have over here. So if I'm going to use a size 6 yarn, I'm going to use a size 6 hook. But if you're not using a size 6 yarn, say you're using a size 5 yarn, I'm going to use a size 5 hook, and then size 4 yarn, size 4 hook. But this is only for plushies. When you're making like clothes or other things, I usually use a size up or 2 because I like my clothes more baggy. And then you're also going to need a yarn needle to sew the end off. And you're also going to need some black yarn. I use size 4 soft cotton by Loops and Threads. I got it at Michael's. And pretty much that's it. And let's get into making Ribbert. Alright, so to get into making Ribbert, we're going to start with our yarn. I'm going to pull a fair bit out. And we have to start with a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, you're going to take the end part of your yarn, hold it in your right hand, or if you're dominant in your left hand, you're going to hold in your left, but I'm right-handed. And you're going to take 2 fingers, you're going to wrap the yarn around the back, bring it to the front, cross it over. I like to hold this yarn right now. Cross it over, and sometimes you need a little more. And you're going to cross it over to make about an X. Turn your hand, and I'm just going to hold the yarn with my finger. So you have like a little 2 lines, and then you have an X at the back here, and you're holding the tail you just wrapped around with your finger, with your ring finger. And then you're going to take your hook. You're going to hold in your right hand. This is how I hold mine. There's like this little flat bit on it. I put my thumb on, I wrap my finger around, and I just hold it in my hand. And you're going to take your hook with the hook side down, go underneath the first one, bring it over the second, pull through, turn your whole hand, and then slip your fingers out and pull. And then to cinch it onto your hook, you're going to take this small the small yarn tail, you're going to pull, and it'll go right onto your hook. I like to leave it not too tight, but a little loose. So let's go over that again. You're going to take this tail of your yarn, you're going to hold it in your right hand, 2 fingers, wrapping around, making an X, bringing it over and holding with your ring finger. Then you're going to hold your hook, put the hook side down, go underneath, over, pull, turn, slip, and pull. And then you're just going to tighten. And there you go, you made a slip knot. I'm trying to make this as beginner friendly as possible, but I would also suggest having learned like single crochet, slip stitch, chain, bobble all before this. I'll try to make this as simple as possible, but if you're struggling, I would suggest going and finding a video on how to do all those stitches and then come back if you still don't understand. So next we're going to chain 6. So how to chain is you're going to hold your yarn. I hold the long tail, I grab it with my pinky, and then I make this sign, like shh, or yeah, and then you're going to wrap it around, and I'm going to hold the back of my slip knot with my middle finger and my thumb, and just adjust to my liking. So my hand pretty much looks like that. If you'd like to see that again, go in reverse, it's the same thing. So you're going to chain 6, you're going to bring your yarn into like this little like right triangle right here, back, turn it so your hook is holding this yarn, and pull it through. So you're going to turn and pull, turn and pull, turn and pull. And then you're going to just do that 2 more times. So we have 6 chains on our hook. If you'd like to learn how to chain again, just go back, watch me chain again. And if it's still confusing, go find a video and then come back, and I promise you it'll be easier. I didn't get crochet for a couple of days, and it was very hard, and then I found some videos that I liked, and boom, 1 hour, got the chain down, and it was super easy. So next you're going to go into the first stitch here, not the last chain we did, but the first stitch right here. And you're gonna single crochet into that. So to single crochet, you're going to take, you see this like little stitch right here? You're gonna take your hook, you're gonna put your hook through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then yarn over and pull through both of the loops on your hook. You're gonna do that again, put it through, pull, yarn over, pull through both. Put your yarn in the hook, pull, yarn over, and pull through too. Sorry, I'm just gonna grab some more yarn here, and you're just gonna do that into the last chain space right here. And now that you've single crocheted 5 across your chain, we're now going to turn it, and then we're going to do a bobble stitch into the same chain that we just single crocheted into, but on the other side. So see how there's like these little ridges? Those are all our single crochets. This extra ridge right here is our 6th chain, which we didn't use, so don't go into this one. But we're going to bobble. Bobble is a little difficult, but it's not too bad. You're going to yarn over and insert your hook in the stitch, pull through, so you have 3 on your hook now. You're going to yarn over and only pull through 2 of those, so you're left with 2 on your hook. And then you're going to do that again. You're going to yarn over, go back into the same stitch, don't go into another stitch. So now you have 4 on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through 2. And you're going to do that 1 more time so that we have 4 on our hook. And yes, it does get a little difficult with the clover hooks because of the silicone, but overall I find clover hooks help me be more fast and efficient, plus the soft handle really helps. And you're going to yarn over and pull through all 4, and that's how a bobble is done. So now you have 1 bobble here, and you're going to grab your yarn, you're going to pull, I like to pull this bobble a little bit to make sure I didn't miss a stitch, And I'm going to count right now to make sure I see them all, that there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And we're going to single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So 1. After the single crochet, I like to pop my bobble the right way out before I tighten it, just to make sure that the bobble is the right way out before I continue. Anyways, you're going to go into the next stitch, and you're gonna, these ones are a little hard to get into. You're gonna single crochet 2 and 3. And then you're gonna do 1 more bobble. So again, to do the bobble, you yarn over, you go into this stitch. Make sure you don't go into the extra chain gap, because that'll make the eye crooked. See, I accidentally went into the chain gap on this guy, and his eye is just like a little wonky, so you just have to fix it into place if you do that, but it's just a little wonky, and it makes it a lot less cute, I would say. And then you yarn over, you put it, see, these stitches are a little hard to get into, but yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, so that you have 3, then you do it 1 more time, yarn over so that there's 4, and then you yarn through all 4. And then you have 2 bobbles, 3 single crochet, bobble, and then just to end the round, this is the end of the round, but I don't like leaving an unfinished bobble, so I'm just gonna single crochet back into the first single crochet we did, just so that it's not uneven. But this is the first stitch of the next round. So you're gonna tighten it, and you're gonna just pop your bobbles out. So now you have the first round done. I didn't say in the materials list, but I use a stitch marker, because if you don't use a stitch marker, I'm scared of you and you're very risky. But you're gonna I just use a paper clip that has the like lining on it, just because I like it and it doesn't scrape my yarn. And I'm just gonna put it into the bobble stitch that we just finished, because the single crochet was the first of our round. And then I just have that stitch marker there. And for this round, we're gonna do 2 single crochets. So we've already done 1. So we're gonna do 1 more single crochet, and then we're gonna do an increase into this stitch. So we're gonna increase. Sorry, that's actually a typo on the pattern. There is no increase, sorry. Plus, that makes it even more beginner friendly. You don't have to learn another stitch. So we're actually not going to do that increase. We're just going to do single crochet all around, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep this yarn tail out of the way. You don't want to accidentally grab it. 6, 7, 8, 9, and take the stitch marker out, and you're just going to go into that last stitch, and that is 10. So you just did 1 single crochet around. And after that, we are going to single crochet around for 2 more rounds, and I'll meet you back. Alright, we just finished 2 rounds of single crochet. Sorry if the camera shifted a little bit. I hit it as I was finishing my last round, and it was like slowly drifting, so I just moved it into a place that's staying still. So sorry if the camera angle's a little wonky now, but anyways, we just finished 2 single crochets around. So now we did 3 rounds of single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. And now we're going to work on the arms. The arms of Ribbert and the legs are the exact same. They're just 2 rounds apart. So to do that round, I just like to flatten out the frog first and look where the 2 stitches in the corner are. So I'm going to single crochet into one. And since I want my arm to be here and not in the back of my frog, I'm going to make 7 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, and 7. So now that we've made 7 single crochets, we're going to do a slip stitch back into the 6th chain. So to make a slip stitch, you're just gonna insert your hook, pull through, and then you're gonna pull through. You're not gonna yarn over again. So that's 1 slip stitch, and then you're gonna chain 2, slip stitch into the first chain you just made. So you're gonna slip stitch, and then you're gonna chain 2 again, 1, 2, and then you're going to slip stitch again. And now you're going to slip stitch back into, there should be like a little kind of hole. Like if you feel, there's like a hole underneath the first finger that you made that you're going to slip stitch back into. And then, since you've now finished your little hand, you're just going to slip stitch all the way back down. So once you slip stitched all the way back down, which is what we're doing right now, and once we finish that, we're going to single crochet around to where we're going to make the next arm. And sometimes sometimes the body shifts, so maybe before you did an arm you had to single crochet 2 because you were over here, or you didn't have to single crochet any. It's really all relative. Like, it doesn't matter as long as it is at the side of the body. And to finish the arm, we're just going to single crochet into the next stitch. And now we finished the arm. And now we're going to single crochet all the way around to where we want the next arm to be. So just for reference, I'm going to do that thing that I did before making the first one, where I flatten it. Then I'm going to look at the bottom. And I kind of see how this stitch right here is kind of right in the middle. So I think I'm going to start the arm there and do the finishing single crochet here. So I'll meet you back when I'm at that stitch. Alright, I have my hook just inserted into that stitch that we're about to do. And we're going to pull through and make a single crochet in that stitch that we want the arm to start in. And now we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to chain 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you're going to slip stitch back in 1 chain, in chain 6 that we made. Chain 2, slip stitch back into that first chain, chain 2, and slip stitch back again. And then we're going to find that hole underneath the first one, and then we're just going to slip stitch into that hole. And now we're just going to slip stitch all the way back down. Alright, now that we're all the way back down, we're just going to do single crochets. So we're going to single crochet, finish that arm. And if you don't like the arm placement, which, I mean, I'm not pleased with it, but I don't want the arm to be back, so I think I'll leave it. But if you don't love where the arm is, you can always undo it, go back 1 single crochet, and then do it there. I've done that a couple times, and then I end up not liking it back there, so then I do it back. It's really fun. So sometimes you just gotta be happy with what you got. But especially with the plush yarn, because it like makes little indents where you single crochet, so if you leave it too long, it's lesson learned, never undo a project, just be happy with it. And then you're just gonna do the last 2 single crochets into the hook. And then you're just gonna put your stitch marker back in. And I usually like to do the eyes right at the end, but since this is a tutorial and it's not always easy to do it right at the end, I'm going to do it right now. You can pretty much do it right after you finish doing all those single crochet rounds. I'm just like lazy and I like getting stuff done. So I usually just finish the frog completely, which you can do, and then add it without the like stuffing and sewing it off, of course, but we're just gonna do that right now. So you're just gonna pull some yarn out so that it doesn't undo itself while we're adding these in. And let's get into doing the eyes. Okay, so to do the eyes, we're gonna need to get our safety eyes back out. So we're just gonna snap that open. Sorry for the loud noise. But we're just gonna snap that back open and we're gonna get 2 of the safety eyes. And we're gonna just grab 2 backings. Make sure that the backings aren't like, super closed, just because sometimes they're not as easy to snap in. But overall, these safety eyes that I buy are pretty good, so I haven't encountered any problems with them yet, so 5-star safety eyes. But you're gonna find your baubles for the eyes. Sorry, I'm just gonna pull some more yarn so I can bring it forward without undoing it. But you pretty much just go into the baubles and like fiddle with it until you like where you find one. I don't really have a specific like stitch I put it in, but I pretty much just fiddle around until I like where they are. And sometimes you just gotta kind of jam it in and you just kind of fiddle around. And if you don't like where they are, you always put the second one in and you look, you like squish it down to where it would be and you just check. And sometimes the eyes look a little wonky, but that's okay because every little frog is unique. I think that I'm gonna put this one in here. You also wanna kind of make sure that the eyes are level with each other, because if they're not level, then they look like wonky like that, but these ones are level, so. And then to just put the safety eyes in, if you've never done safety eyes, you just stick it in. It's kind of like a screw, but without the whole twisting part. You just kind of stick it in, and then I like to almost turn my project inside out so I can find, one eye came out. That's okay, just go back in there. But you kind of just squish in there, and see how the like yarn tail is kind of in the way? You're just gonna move that. But you're gonna grab the washer, I guess, and you're gonna put it on top of the safety eye, and you're gonna hold the back of the safety eye with your hand and just use your nails or fingers to just kind of snap it in place. If it doesn't snap in, you might just have to move it a little bit around because mine isn't snapping in right now. But you're gonna just push it in there. It also doesn't always make a snap sound, it kind of just goes in. So there's one in, and also make sure you like where your safety eyes are because it's super hard to get safety eye backings out, and sometimes you can't, so you have to cut it, and then you're down a backing, so you can't use in our safety eye. But, so just make sure you're happy with where it is before you put it in. See, this one's easier because it's not as next to the yarn tail, but you're just gonna do that again. You're just gonna put the washer bit on and let it snap in. Oh, there, snapped in. Don't make them too tight either, because sometimes the eyes like to indent and it also looks a little weird. But there you go, there's pretty much the eyes are in. And now we're gonna get back to the pattern, so let's get back. So now that we put these in, we're just going to put the safety stitch back in a little bit. We're gonna pull this back tight. And for this round, we're just single crocheting around. But I'll do some of it with you because this bit is a little tricky when you go around the arm. So you're just gonna do 1 single crochet. It also helps if you remember the pattern you just did last round. So since I did 1 single crochet, arm, then single crochet, I know that I do 2 single crochets before the arm. So I'm just gonna look and I'm gonna find that second single crochet, and I'm just gonna make a second one. And then for this part, we have to skip around the arm. So we're gonna like fold the arm back a little bit. Sorry, my camera shakes every now and then. But we're gonna just fold this back and see how you don't wanna go into the one that's vertical, you wanna go into the one that's laying down. So you're gonna fold it back, and then you're gonna go into that single crochet, and then you're just gonna single crochet around to the next arm. I don't remember how many single crochets I did at the back, but I just know that I have 10, and if I mess up a number, I'll just do a decrease. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So see, I messed up somewhere and I have an extra stitch. So I'm just gonna, it's fine. Having 11 is okay. He'll just be a little chubby in the tummy, and that's perfectly fine. So we're just gonna skip around the arm, and I'm gonna single crochet, and then I'm gonna do one more, and into the safety stitch. That's what I call it when there's a stitch marker. I call it the safety stitch. I don't know why I call it the safety stitch, but I just do. So when you hear me say safety stitch, that means I'm just going into the stitch where the stitch marker is. And now you're just going to do one more single crochet around, and then we're going to work on the legs. And I will meet you back there. Alright, now that we've finished our 2 rounds of single crochet, so we did the round where we single crocheted around the arms, and then we did another round, which is 2 rounds of single crochet. We're going to do the legs, and then we're done. So for the legs, we're going to single crochet 1, 2, and we're pretty much going to pick the stitch that's most like in line with the arm. So in my case, it's this one, so I'm going to single crochet into this one, chain 7, oh, that stitch was a little big, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pull some yarn out because I need more, and then I'm just going to do the same thing, slip stitch into 1, chain 2, slip stitch into the next, and then chain 2, slip stitch, and then slip stitch back into that hole, and then slip stitch back down. Alright, now that we've slip stitched back down, we're just going to single crochet to where we want the next leg to be. I should have said this earlier, but if you really don't like slip stitching or you just can't slip stitch, you can always single crochet all those parts. I'm not sure how that would turn out because I've never done it, but I know that some people have a hard time with slip stitching. I especially did as a beginner because it would always, the yarn would break. Plush yarn has always been very temperamental, as I like to say. You have to kind of work it around to make sure that it doesn't break. So you're now just gonna chain 7 again. Wait, how many was that? That was 5. I'm one of those people who has a hard time counting in their head. Like, they have a hard time keeping track, especially when someone's talking. That's the worst part, is when someone starts talking. I can't remember what I counted, which is funny because there's no one else around. Next is we're gonna single crochet or slip stitch. We're just doing the arms. You probably have the hang of it. Or we're doing the legs, which is the same as the arms, so you probably have the hang of it by now. But you're just gonna chain 2 and then slip stitch. And then you're gonna just slip stitch back into the foot hole. And then you're just gonna slip stitch back down. Alright, now that we slip stitch back down, we're actually not gonna single crochet back into here. We're just gonna make a single crochet into the next stitch to just finish the leg. And that way it's kind of more flat at the bottom and it's not like uneven. So now you're just gonna make a long yarn tail. I like to make mine, I don't know, that long, and you're just gonna bring your little scissors over here and you're gonna snip the end that's connected to the yarn, not the one you just pulled, the yarn connected part. So you're just gonna snip that, and then you're just gonna pull it through your stitch. Don't pull it this way because that makes it unravel. Pull it out and it makes a knot. And then I'm just gonna take my slip stitch out, or stitch marker, and boom, you have a little frog. And now we're just gonna close it and give it a mouth, and then we're all done. So I'll get the stuffing and I'll see you back. Alrighty, I cleared my table and I went and got my stuffing and my yarn needle. So for the stuffing, if you have kind of a clumpy stuffing, like where it all sticks together, you're just gonna like pull it apart and kind of re-fluff it. I travel with my stuffing, so my stuffing gets quite clumped up, so I just have to fluff it. And I'm just gonna take tiny bits and I'm just gonna stuff it all the way down. I kind of, when I stuff, I like push it with my 2 fingers. I don't do that thing where people like say, well, layer it and then like make a layer and do all that. I'm not that intense about it. I just kind of put it in and see how I feel. So you want it to kind of like make it round, but not super round. And when you like cinch it, it's gonna have a round belly and a flat bottom. So just take out the excess as you need it. And see, I like probably use this much stuffing, like palm of my hand size. I don't use a lot at all. And you just feel around, you squish it a little if you like it. And I like how much I have. I might put the taddest bit more in. And that's pretty much all. And now you're gonna grab your big yarn tail. I'm just gonna get this stuffing out of my way because it's not working. And you're just gonna grab your yarn tail, your yarn needle, and we're gonna sew this closed. So to sew it closed, I'm gonna try not to hit the camera and make it shake. But see how there's the single crochets? You're just gonna go across into the single crochet and back into the one that we just did. So it's kind of going across. And when you pull it through, the yarn tail is gonna like try to pull the leg down. You just wanna have enough that you can kind of like move the foot out of the way before you finish. And just hold the foot up, make sure it's not in the way, and just pull. Pull lightly. If the yarn breaks, you're kind of doomed here. I've done that once, and it was so challenging to get it to work. But I don't have an even amount of stitches here, so I'm just gonna kind of work it in twice, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm gonna put 2 of one into one. So you're pretty much just gonna do that. You're gonna go across, put it on the outside, and then try not to get any stuffing caught in your needle, and put it on the other side and just pull. And you're just gonna do that across. Don't slip stitch this closed because it leaves a like ugly little seam that you don't want. But see, I'm out of single crochets to go across on this side, but there's still one more over here. So I'm just gonna grab that one more over here and just go into the same one I just went into. And that's it. Now that your frog is, frog's closed. Now that your frog is closed, you're just gonna grab this yarn tail. I like to go across, not like super far across. And I just like to thread my needle somewhere. Preferably not where the mouth is, but like just thread it through somewhere. So you're just gonna pull it through so that it goes through. And then you're just gonna take it off your yarn needle. And I'm gonna tie it. My tying way is kind of weird. I put 2 fingers at the bottom. I like loop it around my 2 fingers, grab it with this one and pull it. That's just how I knot it so it doesn't move. And then I'm gonna hold this part down and I'm gonna pull this just so the knot doesn't move up because I want it to be tight. Because when it goes in, it's gonna want to shift. So you're gonna want it to be very tight and like just tight pretty much. And you're just gonna pull it And then I'm gonna just take my yarn scissors and I'm gonna cut right here. I'm just gonna cut it not too close to my knot, just so it doesn't come undone. But now this yarn that you have extra of, you can always use it to stuff other projects. I have a bin that I put all my spare stuff in, and when I make big projects like my bee over here, I use like this stuff or that bunny or the cow. Sorry, I hit the camera again. But crocheting is very hard with a camera in the way of your hands for sure, but you're gonna just you're just gonna like poke the end of your needle in to where you pulled it through. Sorry, I don't have great terminology, but this is why this is my favorite needle, because it has a flat bottom, so it makes it really easy to shove it back in, but it has a really nice top and a really nice like open. I'm not actually sure where I got this one from. I'm pretty sure I got a toque making kit when I was younger, and that's where this came from. So kudos to that kit for giving me my favorite needle. Anyways, now that you finish your little guy, see my eyes are a little wonky, but I can just shove them in that way and they kind of go back. You're going to grab this end of the yarn and kind of just thread it through, and we're going to make the mouth. So to make the mouth, you're going to stick your yarn just through there, and I like to make my mouth right in between the bobbles. So you're just going to pull your yarn through, not too far, just make sure that there's something to tie it onto after, and then you're going to put it through where the other bobble is. And this part's a little tricky. You're not going through, you're going to like turn it, and you're going to try to stick it out right in the middle of where you just did that. So you're kind of trying to make like an isosceles triangle. So see how it looks like that? You can always leave the face like that if you want it to. I just like mine smiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pull the part that I just made super tight. I'm going to bring my needle underneath. I'm not going through the yarn. I'm not piercing the yarn. I'm just going to go underneath here, and I'm just going to pull my needle through. And now I'm going to pull it, and I'm just going to use this back bit to kind of like pull it tight. And see, now he has a little smiley face. And now you're just going to go back into that stitch, and you're going to find this little bit. Oh. And you're going to make sure that your needle comes through the same one, and you're just going to pull it tight. And then you can adjust it with the little yarn tail, and you're just going to pull it a little bit and adjust it, and boom. And now just take your yarn off, and I like to cut the excess yarn again before I tie, just so it's easier. This is also stuffing, so I'm going to put that in my bin over there. And then I'm just going to tie this off. And I'm just going to tie it like a normal knot. I'm going to triple knot it. So that's triple. And then you're just going to cut it again. Not too close. You're just going to cut it. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take the needle end. You're going to go into that stitch that it was in. And you're just going to shove it in so that it's hidden. And boom, you have a cute little froggy. And see, I think this video is somewhat half an hour, 40 minutes maybe, but these usually only take me around 15 minutes. I usually make a bunch of like frog bodies before stuffing and putting the eyes in. So I just have like this stack of flat frogs. And then once I finish that stack, I stuff them. These two are part of the ones I made. I made 7 within 2 hours. So they're pretty fast and easy. And I usually sell these for about $5 just because the materials, the time, the cost, the everything. But they're super quick, super easy. And I will put this guy up here for the next video. He'll just lean on his friends. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please subscribe, follow me on Pinterest if you'd like. The written patterns on Pinterest for free, because I I understand writing patterns takes a very long time, but whenever I go to buy a pattern, it's always like, well, I bought all the materials for it and all this stuff, so I don't understand why I have to pay for it. Like I get like $8 for a pattern, but 20 I just don't want to make people buy the stuff that they already bought the materials for. So I provide all the patterns for free on there. This guy's pattern is on there. This guy's pattern is on there. I'm gonna make the video for this guy soon. And we'll see you in the next one. And we have a super special surprise pattern for the poll that I just put up on what I should do next. And the only 2 votes on there so far are for fruit-themed animals and a multi-in-one. And just a hint, it might be a mix of both. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for supporting me through this journey. And I really look forward to seeing all the guys you make. Please post photos on my Pinterest. Put comments down below. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications when the next video comes out or a pattern comes out. Thank you. Have a good day. And have fun crocheting your cute little guys. See you in the next one. Bye.